I'm Margaret Godfrey. I'm an artist, and I am making this from my studio in Oregon, which is on the west coast of the United States. You are way over there in Singapore, so we are on opposite sides of our planet. So this is my studio. Today we're going to talk about how to make a volcano painting. And I have not been making a lot of those paintings since we moved from Hawaii, but I certainly have a lot of tricks to show you. So here we go. I have a piece of paper here, which is soon going to be what you see. And I'm thinking about making a sky, so I need a horizon line. And I'm just going to make a line with my Sharpie pen, making kind of a hillside. And I think a sun would be nice. So I'm looking around. I have a little piece of tape, and this looks like a good sized circle for my sun. So I'm going to just trace around this piece of tape. My scissors here and cut my circle. And put it where I think it would be a good place to be, which is right there. So I'm going to use watercolors. And this is my watercolor palette. And I'm just going to pick a really nice blue sky color here. This one's a little bit turquoise. I like to mix paints, so let's add a little bit of a darker blue. And I want to mix up enough to just cover this bit of the paper. So I'm just making more and more blue. More and more, and a little bit more, and then I'll add it to put it on the paper. If you're using watercolors, it's best to try to work fast and not do too much brush work. So I like to just bring my brush across once or twice to cover it and not mess up my paper too much. That's kind of a watercolor trick. Okay, so there's my sky. The next step is figuring out how I'm going to break up this land. And when you look at the lava on Hawaii, when you look at the lava, it's broken up in several portions. And so we'll have one down here. This is kind of called a strata. And then we'll have one that comes up more like that and down. And now I have made 3 shapes for my horizon and my earth. Now the trick of how to make some interesting texture. So this is what in America we call cling wrap or saran wrap. Saran is a brand, I think, but you probably have some in your kitchen. It's a very, it's just a piece of plastic that's very easy to crumble up, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to cut some of this off, tear it. I'm going to tear it into a littler piece. And can you see how this is just all wrinkly? It's going to make an interesting texture to some of these flat pieces that we're going to make into lava, brown stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go to earthy colors and So browns and grays and golds, mixing my paint. So let's start with this one. We'll go to the middle one right away. And just quickly putting color on here. And now while it's still wet, I'm going to take my crinkly piece of saran wrap and put it down. And what happens is it starts making a pattern in the paint. And in a minute or two, when it's dry, we will do something fun with that. So I'm just putting little pieces down, making them crumbly so it looks kind of rocky. And I think I told you there are two kinds of lava in Hawaii, the which is the stuff that you don't want to walk on because it's so spiky, and the other is pahoihoi, which is a smoother type. So we're going to go for making right there. And we'll be letting that dry. Now I'm touching this with the back of my hand to see if it's dry enough to make some lava, shooting lava. That's what we're going for next. And I think it is. Oops. And I had a different straw, but if you have a straw, that's a handy thing to have around the house when you want to paint, because we're not going to drink with it. We are going to, let's get some red here. Or this is kind of red. I'm going to make a dot here of just paint, and it's kind of a little puddle, and then I'm going to blow on it. And see what happens. Whew! Isn't that fun? Let's do a little more. Let's get a different color, a little redder. Make another puddle. And blow on it. Look at that. Is that fun or what? But you have to do it while your puddle's still wet. We'll do maybe one more. We don't want to make it too splashy. Maybe I do. And if I move where I'm blowing, obviously, the paint changes. So there you have some spraying lava coming out of that hillside. And as things dry, I can now take my little circle out, and we can make that a sun. I think it's dry enough to paint some yellow there. How about that? Pretty nifty. Maybe I want it more orangey, so I'm going for an orangey kind of yellow. Let's see how that looks. Just paint that circle in. Now we have a sun, we have bursting lava, and we have some lava drying down here. While this is settling in, let's put some more earth colors on. Or maybe make this kind of a little different color. Let's make it a greenish, just for the heck of it. So I'm adding some blue to my gold color to make a kind of grayish, maybe not the prettiest color in the world, but we're going to put some life into it when we put our saran wrap on it, or the cling wrap, or whatever. I'm curious what you guys call it there. paint on my brush. Whoops. I'll just take some of that off with Kleenex. And switching my green to a little more this color, it's picking up that red. That will be just exciting in this layer, in this strata on this painting. So let's get a little more saran wrap. Crinkle it up, lay it on. I need a little bit more. And I hope you can see how this is, some of the paint is puddling under this crinkly saran wrap, and that's kind of the point of this. And then we'll choose one more color down there, and it's going to be a warm yellowish gold is what I'm shooting for here. And here we go. This is just a pail of water. When you're working with watercolors, you always need to have water available. Okay, now one more bit of saran wrap, and then we're going to let it dry for a while. So but I think my video is going to stop while it dries, and we'll come back and I'll show you how to use the saran wrap to just make these stratas more interesting. So we'll cover this up. Make sure there are a few wrinkles to make it exciting. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm not real happy with that sun. So well, did you stop? Oh, we're not stopped. Okay. While we're still here, I'm going to take a little bit of red and make a red circle around my sun. Why not? And then while we're here, using a little of that, I think I'd like to add some more shoots. Make it a little more stunning. Look at that. That's done. Maybe to make some orange, I'll put some yellow paint in here. And blow that up. And I think I'd like to just combine this whole thing along here. Okay, now we're going to let this dry. Okay, so I'm going to peel off the one that I put the saran wrap on first. Well, actually, they're all coming off. And they're all dry enough to do something now. And what I'm going to do is show you how to enhance these patterns that we just made. So, I'm going to take my smaller brush and make some darker shades. And so where I see a pattern here, I'll just paint it in. Maybe something here, and here, and here. And so the saran wrap has given me a pattern that I can follow and make this part of the painting more interesting and vibrant, and I'm going to say this type of lava is because it's quite lumpy. And I'm just letting the patterns take shape from what was left by the saran wrap. And there's something there, so let's pick up some of this dark green. I'm mixing a green with blue and yellow, and we'll come up here and just painting in these shapes that were left and formed by the wrapping paper. So as an artist, there are tricks. You don't always have to think up everything yourself. There are tricks that you can use that make things more interesting, and they're kind of fun to use too. I don't think I would think up this pattern by myself. I needed the help of something out of my kitchen. That's made that more interesting. And now, okay, we have and this one is a lot smoother, so we're going to call this one the hoi hoi, which is the name for the smoother lava. And after I do these, I'm going to look at the whole thing and think, what would make it look a little bit better to my eye? And I really love this, but I think it would be fun to do some dark. So now I have an ink, and because this is something you should be careful with, because if it gets out there, it's not like watercolor you can kind of pick up. This is serious stuff. But I'm going to make some darker spray shapes. Using this darker ink, which is almost black. More puddles. Okay, that's just for fun. Then I'm looking at other things that I might want to make a little neater looking. And I'm going to use my colored pencils. And I bet you have some of those around. And this one is, I'm looking for a brown. So I can come around these shapes and make them stand out more if I put my brown. I'm going for something darker. There we go. Now you can see. It enhances the shapes and makes it just a little more interesting. And you can see how to do this, so I don't have to make you watch the whole shebang, but that's one way to do it. And I can come down here and make these shapes more exacting and perhaps more interesting. And let your imagination run wild, using your pencil to create the shapes, make them more visible, which I am liking how that looks. And when I like it, I usually do more. So I just keep doing that. Then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm not happy with my sun. I think I want it to be an orange. So I'm going to mix a little red and with my yellows. And then just paint this red. I think it goes better with the painting as a red sun. And so there you have it. So when you're happy with your painting, then all you have to do is sign it. And there is your new piece of art.